Welcome back to the holding area for the CMMC Southern Super Saloons and TinTops. They were out at the beginning of the day and they are seeing out today's action. Winning last time is the mighty Escort of Rod Birley, so he starts on pole again. We meet again, good sir.
Yes, good afternoon, or nearly good evening actually.
Now, will you be giving everybody a sporting chance, or is there going to be competition for you, do you think?
I never underestimate the opposition. Sometimes they can surprise you and people can pull in a good lap time, so yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Gavin's got a good car, he's got a good engine under him, it's very nimble through the twisty infield section. I've probably got a bit more power down the straight than he has, so yeah, I think we'll have a good race again. It was close in the first race, so I don't think it'll be any different now.
And how many career wins does this make it?
We're up to 696 now.
True. Another milestone in the waiting. Best of luck, Mr. Birley. I'm sure we will see you again very soon indeed. Starting second last time out was car number 30, which is Gavin Dunn, and of course we'll be doing so again. He had the fastest lap last time around in the BMW. Let's see how he feels about this race. Gavin, fastest lap last time. Do you think there's enough pace to challenge the Escort?
No. Straight line speed. It's just, you do all the hard work through the corners, you can catch him. As soon as we get to a straight, the power, you just got no chance. So we'll do the best we can.
You do the best you can, and I'm sure the results will come. Best of luck for race number 2. That's Gavin Dunn in the number 30 BMW. Coming home third from starting fourth last time is car number 18, Nick Sutton in the Mitsubishi Lancer. Nick, starting third this time around, do you think you can climb one stage further?
I'll do my very best, but I'm wrestling a few problems. I've got some gear selection problems, so last time it was taking time away from me, but we've put a fix in place, so I'm hoping that I'll do it this time, but maybe second, I don't know. I'm hoping.
It was very entertaining to see your progress, and we wish you the best of luck for the second race. The gate is open, the cars will be getting underway for race number 2 for the CMMC Southern Super Saloons, and TinTops will be handing back over to Scott Woodward in the commentary box.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, indeed, as the sun sets on what's been a brilliant first day of racing here at Snetterton, we're getting ready for our final race of today, which is the second of which for the CMMC Super Saloons and Intermarque. It's the Southern division, of course, for the CMMC as well. And after a pretty entertaining race yesterday, earlier on this morning, they are now heading off for their second race. So it was Rod Birley, of course, who picked up, as you heard in the interview there, his 697th race win. So he's literally 3 away from hitting the big number of 700 career race wins. How amazing would that be? Shame he wasn't in the first modified Ford Series race. He did qualify for it, but sadly didn't make it out for that one. So unfortunately, hopefully he can make it out for the 2 races tomorrow. And if he's able to even come through and win those 2, that would be incredible to see him possibly pick up what could be. There is every chance that if he wins today and actually happens to win both modified Ford races tomorrow, he could hit 700 career wins this weekend, which would be absolutely phenomenal, and that would be an incredible milestone to reach. It will be tough, I think, if he starts the second race. He'll have to do so from the back of the grid, as he didn't compete in the first race, possibly because he was trying to just get the car prepared for this second race. But as the cars then form up now on the grid, I think there's 1 or 2 possible holes in the grid, unfortunately, due to the fact that there might be 1 or 2 cars which didn't survive or didn't come out of the first race all that well, that will be possibly on the sidelines for this second race, I'm afraid. But we'll go through the grid very shortly for what is our final race of today and our second race of the day for the Classic and Modern Motorsport Clubs, Super Saloons and TinTops. So, Rod Birley starts on pole position by courtesy of his win from earlier on. Gavin Dunn starts alongside him in the BMW. That's the Evo 10 of Nick Sutton and the BMW of Ronan Bradley in 4th place. Then it's the Andrew Mackenzie BMW E46 M3 and Chris Bassett's TinTop winning Peugeot 306. Then it's Sean Fairweather's Sierra Cosworth and Martin Scott's BMW M3. Dave Charlton and Mark Cripps are on the 5th row of the grid in their Seat Leon and BMW E30. Graham Richardson and Steve Dan then come next on the 6th row of the grid. the Honda Civic and the VW Scirocco. I don't see Dan VW Scirocco sadly going past my window. Ken Angell's BMW doesn't appear to be there either, sadly. Ian Seal is there also. Is there, and his SC150. Jacques Whitehead, his BMW 330 Ci is also there too, as is Angelo Massinetto. And also we should have a likes of Alexander Baldwin, Nick Wall, I think also had an early retirement in that race as well. And that concludes the 18 car grid. Alright, so Ken Angell's BMW is there, so we'll count them off. So we can see Rob Birley's car, we can also see the Dunn BMW, we can see Nick Sutton, we can see Brian Bradley's car, we can see the Mackenzie BMW, Chris Bassett, we can see the Fairweather car as well. So we'll work out exactly who we do and don't have by the time they get around to start this race. It's a rolling start, as it was for the first race earlier on. This beautiful, warm, sort of hazy, autumnal glow here at Snetterton. Sun starting to set later in the afternoon, 5:30. It always looks like the camera has a filter on it, which is making it look like it's this sort of deep and warm and orangey, but it really is that beautiful outside. So, but enough about oozing over the weather conditions, but more about the racing we've got on track and the cars that are on track as well, of course, because Rob Burley's Ford Escort WRC certainly has served him well over the last few seasons and has served him for a long time. It's been through a couple of tough moments where it's had a couple of incidents, but always been rebuilt back to its best, and looking forward to see if potentially, if he does compete in the 2 modified Ford race, provided he wins this race and then competes in the 2 modified Ford races tomorrow and happens to come through and win both of those, if then he actually goes on to pick up win number, potentially this weekend, there's a chance of win number 700, but that's if he contests the races that he's qualified for tomorrow. There's Nick Wall's Ford Fiesta, so his car is on the grid. As I say, I think the one or two cars we don't have, I think Steve Dan VW Scirocco is not on the grid there, as we see another fantastic low laying sunny shot. And then as they come through the distance, the pack behind the safety car, led by the runyourfeet.com Jaguar safety car, supplied to the BRCC by their very valued partners at runyourfeet.com. Big thank you to them. Be sure to go and check them out at runyourfeet.com for any vehicle fleet management needs. And as part of the deal, they provide this brilliant Jaguar safety car that's been decked out in this wonderful livery in order to sport the club colours. So the cars now make their way up out of Brundle and Nelson and now into the bomb hole, and they start to form up 2 by 2 for the rolling start. So the combined grid here for the Classic and Modern Motorsport Club's Southern Divisions, Super Saloons and TinTops. So there's the little switch and saxo of Angelo Massinetto. It's quite diminutive, but it does still try its best. So we slowly move into focus to get this final race of Saturday underway here. So, as it was on the front row for the first race earlier on, is going to be Rob Birley and the BMW of Gavin Dunn alongside each other. Who's going to get the sprint off the line? Everyone formed up in 2 by 2 formation. Race 2 of the day for the CMMC Southern Super Saloons and TinTops, all set to get underway. Watch the red light on top of the marshal's box. It goes at any second. Now and away we go. Top start again from Birley as he shoots away from pole position in the Escort. There was either contact or a slow starter, because there has been contact, I think, because that is Andrew Mackenzie's BMW that has damage to the right front. I think it's been clipped by the Nick Sutton Evo, because the Sutton Evo, Nick Sutton's Mitsubishi Evo, was all out of shape on the run down the straight, and of course the piece of bodywork there was sticking up on the side of Andrew Mackenzie's car. So I'm confident that there's been a bit of side-to-side contact. Maybe Mackenzie misjudged the start a little bit, either that or Sutton misjudged the start a bit, or Mackenzie got a better start and there was contact as he moved out of the way. But even so, there's damage to the BMW. I think it's possibly, hopefully, cosmetic damage rather than anything mechanical. But the Evo continues on. So now there is Gavin Dunn's BMW under threat from Nick Sutton. That doesn't appear to be harmed either, so that carries on. And Mackenzie's car has got enough pace to try and pull its way through, to try and get back into third place if it can. There's Ronan Bradley's car, the white and green BMW. The Fairweather Sierra's up there in 6th position. Now they turn out to the left-hander at Hamilton, into Oggies again. He started the opening lap of this race, and I think the reason why you can't see Rob Birley is because he's pretty much gone already in this first opening lap. Through with the right-hander. He's not even in the bottom of the shot there as he came through. He's that far ahead. What's also interesting is that the piece of bodywork that was flapping on the front of the Andrew Mackenzie BMW has flattened down again back into position. So either it's just to be pushed itself back into place, I'm not sure. There's Rob Birley. Immediately pushing out. In fact, the piece of bodywork has flown off now, so I'll stop talking about bodywork on BMWs and get back to some actual racing, which is the scrap for second place between Gavin Dunn and Nick Sutton on this opening lap. So out of Brundle and Nelson, BMW versus Mitsubishi. That looks like Richardson and Charlton are battling over some tin top honours. Also got the 125 car on Wall. So Nick Wall there in the Fiesta ST150, battling away with the BMW. That was Jacques Whitehead's 330 CI. As the leading cars make their way out of Murray's onto the pit straight for the end of the first lap, it is going to be Rob Birley who continues to lead in that ferociously fast, flame-spitting Ford Escort WRC. And there goes Nick Sutton with his high-powered machine. He charges past the BMW and into second place at the expense of Gavin Dunn. And there were some laps, remember in race 1, whether it was back markers or not, I didn't quite know what the answer was, but Rob Birley's car did have on some laps, he would back off a little bit or having it something which cost him a couple of seconds, about 2 minutes 8, 2 minutes 9, when his car can do faster lap times than that. And you saw in the first race that Gavin Dunn's BMW did get quite close in the end, but didn't quite get close enough to make the move stick, or to put a move on Rob, because he knew that the horsepower of that Escort WRC was simply just going to be way too much for the BMW. The BMW is no slow car in itself. Of course, the reason was it managed to pick up a second fastest time in qualifying overall, hence the front row start, and then the second place finish overall in race 1 earlier on this morning. It's just that Rob Birley's car just carries so much horsepower. There it goes. And Nick Sutton, who got quite a bit of power on his right foot as well in that four-wheel drive Evo 10. Continues on in third place, just keeping Sutton in touch. He might have a bit of an edge in the corners, whereas Sutton's car might be a bit more powerful in the straights. We saw it a little bit in the modified Ford Series race earlier on, where we had two Escort RSRs, and one appears to be a little bit stronger in the straights and one a bit stronger in the corners. So there's a possibility that it could be a similar scenario here. Looking now, this is the Sean Fairweather Ford Sierra at Cosworth, and he's under threat from the top tin top, which is Chris Bassett. If you've been watching the live stream coverage of the Super Saloons and TinTops for CMMC Southern back at Brands Hatch, which is their home circuit, you'll remember that the Chris Bassett car was running rings around some of the faster Super Saloon cars, where being on such a short circuit, 1.2 miles, the handling of the cars counts a little bit more than the straight line speed, whereas here, there are some quite quick cars. I mean, Chris Bassett is trying to get past in the little Peugeot 306. It might be little, but it packs quite a punch, particularly even so on the straights. It's quite lightweight, and it's not slow in the straights. It doesn't have quite exactly the same horsepower as the Sierra, but it's not at least being not being completely dropped. It's still got quite a bit of punch in the straight line. There it is. So Martin Scott and Dave Charlton are also in a scrap of their own. That's BMW versus Seat Leon. BMW M3 versus Seat Leon, which you might think is completely unheard of, but that's the beauty of a championship like this. Oh, Rob Birley's out! Oh, Rob Birley out of the race. More mechanical problems for the Escort WRC. That's a real shame. I was really, I think many were looking to see if he could possibly go towards win number 700, but I think hitting that tally, I'll have to wait another day, I'm afraid. So that means now that Nick Sutton takes over the lead here at Snetterton in the second CMMC Super Saloons race and TinTops. So Gavin Dunn second place and Andrew Mackenzie in third. There's Martin Scott battling with Dave Charlton. So, of course, Martin Scott's car being a Super Saloon, Dave Charlton's, of course, being a tin top. As they now turn their way out of the right hander. This is the battle now, what's now become third and fourth overall, because now that Rob Birley's out of the race and has pulled the car up at the back of the paddock. That will be the case. Now, I think there's a penalty being applied to somebody here, there is a board being shown out on the marshal's post. I can see out of my commentary box window. I'm waiting for the race control message because I can't see. Right, car 67 is the number on the board. That's Andrew Mackenzie, and he's getting a time penalty for something. Whether it's 5 or 10, whether it's one way around or the other, I'll have to wait and see because I can't see if it's the same number on the side of the board. But the side of the board I'm looking at says 10-second penalty. So if it is a 10-second penalty, whether it's an out of position start, or I'll have to wait and see if it flashes up on the timing screen to see what the penalty exactly is for. We'll concentrate on that later when we get the information. Let's look back at the racing. So Sutton now has just lost the lead, what is now the lead, to Gavin Dunn. So Gavin, I think, was probably either biding his time or a little bit off the pace. And Sutton tries to close back in under braking. We could get a nice little battle here between these two. They're fairly evenly matched at some points. Lap time wise, the last lap the fastest lap of the race for Nick Sutton is a 2 minutes 8.295, whereas Gavin Dunn's is a 2 minute 9.488. So on pace, the Sutton Evo 10 is quicker than the Gavin Dunn BMW, but maybe Sutton didn't have all the pace he wanted in that first half, and he's going into the hairpin Agostini. Look as he cocks a wheel into the left-hander, the way the car's sort of quite stiffly sprung. And now down the outside he looks into the left-hander at Hamilton's. Can't quite make that move stick either. So Dunn remains in front. And again, I haven't had a message through from race control to say that someone's been given a time penalty. That there is a board being handed out, and it's going to Andrew Mackenzie. But what time penalty he's been given, whether it is 10 seconds, it hasn't showed up on the timing screen, or whether it's a different time penalty with a different number on the other side, it's unbeknownst to me, unfortunately. So we'll have to wait and see what comes up. Back with our lead battle, and Nick Sutton glides his way through up the inside into Brundle, gets it stopped for Nelson, turns his way in, and the Evo's back into the lead, but the BMW will try and come back at him if he can. There's quite a bit of back and forth between these two. Again, he gets a good run off the corner, and he might look a little bit of straight line speed, but he looked a bit more confident going into Coram than the Evo did. Meanwhile, further back, we're looking at the Richardson Honda Civic. He's backing over with Ken Angell. This is over, that will be for 9th and 10th position, and that's for 2nd and 3rd in the T1 class. So that is over a class position. Through goes Sutton and Dunn. Lap time wise, it was a new personal best for Sutton that time, 2 minutes 8.162 compared to 2 minutes 9.623. So Sutton was a full 1.5 seconds quicker than Gavin Dunn. Mackenzie's 3rd, but again, I suspect he has got a time penalty. Whether it is definitely 10 seconds or it's a different time penalty, he's got something, but what it is, I haven't quite figured it out yet, and it hasn't been applied to the timing screen either. So we'll wait and see if something does come up with that. Ronan Bradley's now 4th in his BMW E36. Bassett 5th now, as by far and away the top TinTop car once again in 5th position. Sean Fairweather is 6th. Actually, Bassett has not only passed Fairweather, he's pulled away from him by nearly 8 seconds. So Bassett really has got some pace in that Peugeot. Just 5.25 minutes to go left now in this second CMMC Southern Super Saloons and TinTops. As we mentioned, they mainly based in the southeast, so the championship is essentially a Brands Hatch based championship. From what I remember, it's a legacy of what used to be the BARC Southeastern Centre, but then they joined forces with Richard Culverhouse of the Classic and Modern Motorsport Club, and through them they've managed to keep essentially the same collective of people going, and they will have another of their series championships out in force tomorrow, because they'll have the Intermarque Silhouettes, which is essentially, if you know motorsport circuits, it's pretty much, if you ever watched National Hot Rods on short oval circuit racing, it's effectively short National Hot Rods with windscreens that run on long circuits. Now, I know I'm sure for anyone that runs short ovals is probably clawing at their screen thinking that's not exactly, there's not entirely all what it is, but so forgive the kind of the kind of very simple explanation of that, but I'm sure there's a bit more, a couple more added modifications and complexities to it. But essentially they are very much the same cars that you would find, or very similar at least to the cars you would find on the short ovals in National Hot Rods, and there's cars like Vauxhall Tigra and Mercedes SLK, there's a VW Carrano, there's even a couple of Silhouette Ginetta G40s as well, which have been taking, in terms of the body shape, the aerodynamic body shape by storm. So watch out for them tomorrow in the coverage if you can tune in. Here is still the battle between the Seat Leon of Dave Charlton and Martin Scott's BMW, and behind them another battle going on, Ken Angell versus Graham Richardson, forgive me. Graham Richardson. So, and that's all four. That's all on track together. So that's 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th all together. Here is the 223. That's Alex Baldwin, and he is in the Ford KA. I think that's possibly a Ford KA, which, as I mentioned earlier, I think that's from the Enduro KA series, or it's to Enduro KA spec. Just out there getting some track time. So through it goes, out of the hairpin, now up towards the left-hander at Palmer. Meanwhile, Angell and Richardson still going at it for the T1 TinTop podium places, 2nd and 3rd. And just ahead of them, there is the class... No, that's not the class leader, that's the... so yes, it is. So that is the class leader. Yes, Dave Charlton. I was thinking of Chris Bassett, but he's in a different class. He's in T2. So T1 is Dave Charlton, who is ahead of this Martin Scott Golf liveried BMW, or Golf coloured at least. And that car holding well. And I think any car that can hold its own against the BMW M3 like that is certainly worth its value. There's Angell. There's Richardson. The sprint towards Hamilton, and you can see up towards Oggy's now. 2 minutes to just under 2 minutes to go now in this second race for the Super Saloons and TinTops, and just checking in on the leaders. The gap is 2.6 seconds. Last time by Dunn did do a 2 minute 7.883. Nick Sutton did a 2 minute 6.532. That's his not his last lap. That's his best lap so far. So he has lowered the fastest lap time to a 2 minute 6.5, so he's looking pretty powerful. This is also scrapped for 3rd and 4th. Now, Andrew Mackenzie is still ahead of Ronan Bradley. Now, remember, of course, again, we were trying to solve the mystery of Andrew Mackenzie getting potentially some kind of a penalty. Now, if that was just a warning, or simply that was a double-sided ball where that was a warning to Andrew Mackenzie saying you need to be careful, otherwise you are going to be penalised next time. Not entirely sure, because again, no penalty is applied on that, appeared on the timing screen, so either it was just a warning or there is a penalty, but it hasn't been applied by TSL. So either way, Andrew Mackenzie either is in 3rd place or he isn't in 3rd place in reality if he has a penalty, so we'll wait for that. Just looking at the bottom of Nick Sutton's car, and I was looking, unless it's just how it is, yeah, that the exhaust at the bottom of Nick Sutton's car, I thought it was sitting low at the low to the ground. It's dragging on the ground and still spitting flames when it changes up through the gears. That could be potentially quite dangerous, I thought. Might be interesting. Well, it's quite late in the race to give him a black and orange flag, I think, truthfully, because then he got really sort of potentially no more laps to go, so he's got a gap of 2.6 seconds. There's Sean Fairweather's Ford Sierra. We just saw a glimpse also before that of the back of a 3rd going on between Mackenzie and Bradley. Now there's how many seconds to go? There's about 8 seconds. I think he should be fine for this last lap. So the saving grace is that the clock's about to run down to 0, which it does any second now. So the checker flag will go out for the final race of the Saturday's action here on this BRSCC race weekend at Snetterton. Oh no, it's not! Nick Sutton is the pit lane on the last lap! Nick Sutton pulls in on the last lap, and Gavin Dunn wins race 2 for the Super Saloons. Oh, Nick Sutton loses it right on the last bit. Either he faltered because he didn't want to risk a penalty, or they just didn't want to damage the car, but it was something that possibly caused him to stop. But Gavin Dunn sweeps past Nick Sutton on the run to the checkered flag and steals the victory. And through no fault of Nick Sutton's, when all he could do was try and bring the car home, and whether something faltered or something just didn't work properly, he just brought the car in and gave up the victory, which is gutting. So unfortunate for Nick Sutton. So Gavin Dunn then keeps out of trouble, and he's one of his 2 main contenders for the victory, both fall by the wayside, and he inherits it all by himself. So Gavin Dunn wins then. Ronan Bradley in 2nd place. Right now then, Andrew Mackenzie has had a 10-second penalty. Now, whether that was a jump start or... I'm going to suspect it might be. There's no reason, but it might be a jump start because there was the contact member between himself and Nick Sutton, and Sutton had to swing out of the way in order to not hit him. So I think Mackenzie has made it possibly, again, don't quote me on this, but possibly made a jump start, and because of that, he then caught Nick Sutton off guard, and because of that, he had to try and swerve out of the way when Mackenzie was charging through. There was a bit of contact, and that's what caused the damage to Mackenzie's front right wing. And maybe because he was a bit of a jump start or a slightly out of position start, that's what got him the penalty. Either way, whatever the reason, it is a 10-second penalty for Andrew Mackenzie. It has been applied at the end of the race. So Bradley then picks up second place. It's then Mackenzie third. Chris Bassett is up to fourth after that. So fourth overall, and top finishing tin top again. So great effort from Chris Bassett in the potent Peugeot 306. It's then six. Nick Sutton he's classified sixth because he did cross the finish line in the pit lane. So he gave up the win but still finished sixth. Then Dave Charlton comes home in seventh place. Eighth goes to Martin Scott. Ninth to Ken Angell and 10th to Graham Richardson. Then Wall, Whitehead, Seal, Massanetto and Baldwin. And the only car that we didn't get across the line, of course, was Rob Birley, who retired earlier on. Are we waiting for one more car? I think we are. Which is the BMW, which is of Jax Whitehead. That's the car third in Class D in the Super Saloon. So he'll head out the final corner. Up to the checkered flag. And he's the last one to cross the line. Here he comes. And he is home. Third place for Class D. So well done to him, which is great stuff. So, after what was a rather crazy finish and the perfect backdrop to look at the hopefully the results of the last race, here we go. So Gavin Dunn then, incredibly, takes the win on the last run to the line from Nick Sutton. He wins overall and wins his class. Ronan Bradley second. Andrew Mackenzie still wins his class with third despite the time penalty. Fourth for Chris Bassett, who's top TinTops race, with Sean Fairweather is fifth. Nick Sutton classified sixth ahead of Dave Charlton. Then Martin Scott, Ken Angell and Graham Richardson. But it's Nick Wall, Jack Whitehead and then Ian Seal, Angelo Massanetto and Alexander Baldwin all won their classes. Rob Birley sadly retiring and not getting win 698. Nick Sutton also takes away the fastest lap of the race. So with a perfect parting shot, thank you very much for everyone who's been watching today here, both on the BRCC, Caterham live streams, and also on the Facebook pages of Formula 4, Classic and Modern Motorsport Club, and also, of course, Modified Fords. More action tomorrow. There's more Caterhams. We've got the championship decided for both Caterham Academy groups, and also with the second races for the Caterham Road Sports, 270s and 310Rs, plus the special end-of-season graduation race that is the Caterham Academy Autumn Trophy. There's more action for the Modified Fords, a title decided in the National Formula Fords Championship as well, plus two races from the CMMC Southern, Intermarque Silhouette, and the Club Sport Trophy race at the end of the day to round off what's been so far a fantastic weekend here at Snetterton in Norfolk. So, as the sun beautifully sets in the background, thank you for watching. From myself, Scott Woodwis, from Chris Buxton, from Chris Hutchinson, and all of us here on the Digitex team here at Snetterton and BRCC. Thanks for watching. Tune in tomorrow morning for day 2 action here at BRCC at Snetterton in Norfolk. But until then, take care and good night.